Welcome to the 6th episode of this 7-part series on the history of the Great Kingdom of Buganda.
Njagala Kasai means I need blood. Yeah, I need blood. Yeah. When you hear it just openly, it sounds...
It's very eerie and scary.
yeah. It is even scaring, but it has its hidden meaning.
This world is being led by the dead. This world is being led by the dead.
Yeah, in Africa, actually, we almost had similar beliefs. Kings could be buried with a lot of items. To the extent even they were buried with servants.
Ah.
Yes. Now, when it comes to Buganda...
People are buried alive?
Yes, yeah. Actually, it was a pleasure to bury with a king.
Era nze nsanyukira ddala kubanga ekyamazima zaali ssaawa 2 ennaku z'omwezi 16 omwezi ogwokusatu.
You're dealing with the living, you're dealing with the dead. In the process of rebuilding, I have had to deal with history. I've had to deal with the future.
Engamba ani ayo kizza ebisaaniiko ekiro kino okumpi n'ennyumba n'entuukayo mu mazima nasanga ennyumba yeekutte.
Depends on what we appreciate as our own. For this is Kasubi Tombs. It's your own, it's ours, it's Ugandan.
Nenkuba enduulu naye abali munda nga tebawulira nennyingirira ddala ne mbagamba banaye mufulume.
Ensonga lwaki bw'olaba ennyumba muzibu azaalampanga eyakwata omuliro mu 2010 bwe tubali tugizizaawo nga bwe yali.
Naye kale mpulira essanyu kubanga kati njirabako kubanga luli nagakaaba ne ŋŋamba nga tufudde ekitiibwa ky'Obuganda okuggwaawo.
Mu lubiri tebavugiramu ggaali, temukookolimirwamu nkoko empanga. Wassa eggwanga ali atya? Ali omu, ye kabaka.
Missionaries came preaching Jesus Christ as the king.
Yeah.
And we had kings here. We could say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Let your kingdom come. We had kingdoms here.
Our ancestors cannot be satanic, no. They once lived like us. If you say they are satanic, then when you also die, you will become satanic.
In this 6th episode, we pick up our discussion on religion and spirituality, and also have a chat on tourism and conservation. It's important that you watch the whole series for context. Although we had intended to produce this series in vernacular, to reach as many people as possible, these Buganda tapes are presented in English. Any factual corrections will be addressed in a pinned comment. The conversation begins right now. Welcome to the Buganda series. I'm your host, Jonathan Benaya. Now, I must state that there will be segments in this series that include comments that are made in vernacular, or call it Luganda. So if you're listening to this in audio form and would like a translation, I've left a link down below in the notes where you can access a video form, a video version of this whole series, and there you'll have subtitles for the Luganda translations. But if you understand Luganda, then I guess you can access the series wherever you prefer. All right, let's get right in.
This God, the overall God, the heavenly God, the Katonda that you've said, did he have a gender? Was he a he or a female? Or was it still duality, as you've been saying, male and female?
Because they aimed at uniting all genders, God was not, in our traditional religion, was not defined. He was supreme, the creator of the male and the female, supreme, Katonda. We are evidence of his power. Our existence is evidence of his power. So we can't relate him to us in the traditional religion. He's neither female alone, he's neither male alone. He's
God.
He's God.
Okay. I'm also interested in knowing what role do, I don't know if I could call them spiritual guides, abakongozi. What role do they play in the kingdom of Buganda?
Abakongozi, or the spiritual mediums, they are very important. It's the only way we get to hear from the dead, the resting kings. Every king, we've been led by 36 kings in Buganda, including the current king. But I'll exclude him in this part because he's still living. He's got no Mukongos. The only kings with Mukongos is the Sekabakas.
The ones that disappeared.
The ones that disappeared. And the combination of that conference, if we are seated in that conference where the Abakongos are going to speak to the current generation, that is what we call amasengere. Amasengere is a Luganda word that means a conference of the Abakongos. And there is protocol. When the Omukongos of Mutesa 1 is speaking, the Omukongos of Mwanga, Sekabaka Mwanga, the Omukongos of Sekabaka Daudicho, the Omukongos of Sekabaka Mutesa 2, they don't talk because their head is speaking.
Is that automatic?
It's
or
automatic.
Interesting.
It's automatic. Unless when Mutesa requests his son Mwanga to speak, and then the Omukongos will speak. But before, when we are in this conference, before the senior Mukongos, actually the senior king, not now Mukongos, the other juniors don't talk. They listen. Now that shows actually the discipline Buganda has and had, both in the living and in the
afterlife,
after the death. So they are very, very important. When we are having troubles in the kingdom, in the country, they guide us. And they guide His Majesty, the Kabaka. The Kabaka gets his guidance from his ancestors. The word Kabaka is, it can be directly translated from Okubaka.
The
Kabaka.
verb of catching.
Catching.
Okay. Downloading.
Downloading.
Yes.
Okubaka, Obubaka, Vambakongos, Baba Jajabe. He gets the information from the mediators of his ancestors. And he goes and do it the same way he has been directed. Yeah, they're very, very important.
Interesting.
Yeah. But those are not hereditary. So the Kabaka appreciates and picks anybody. When that person dies, we don't need a heir from that house, from that family. No. The Kabaka himself, the dead king, will appoint another person.
And how do you know that? Are there signs that such a person has been selected?
Of course. You cannot fake yourself. There is a council of elders, and there are questions. You speak what is not within your age. Omukongozi of Ssekabaka Suna, to speak life of Suna and his activities, you find that child will be around. They may get Omukongozi in the age of 20 years. Same voice, like the other king. And
that is talking of things of the 18th.
Talking facts.
Yeah.
Talking facts.
Interesting. Maybe let me also ask about the conference you are talking about. Is there any music? Are there any songs played during that?
Now,
You don't have to divulge anyway if some of these things are sensitive.
these are very sensitive because this is these are family deep information. I just share that little to the people. You see, do you know one of the reasons why Buganda's constitution was never written? Buganda's constitution was never written even when we learned how to read and write. Up to now, the no. It is because we have come to realize that anything written can easily be destroyed as well. The sensitive things of Buganda are better unwritten and only told to the people responsible and concerned. We have got a lot of information we don't put in our books, we don't tell our visitors, not because we have forgotten them. So that's why the constitution of Buganda was not written. Otherwise, the enemy would read it and twist it and change it. But you bring out an article in the traditional constitution and everybody is shocked. They wish they knew it earlier and twisted it.
That's very interesting. I didn't know I didn't know the Buganda constitution wasn't written.
It's there.
Wow.
It was designed by Kabaka Chintu.
Okay.
The first one.
I'm interested in knowing how has this indigenous religion, spirituality as we call it, in the context of Buganda, how has it evolved in a world that has a multiplicity of religions and denominations? Have some of the rituals that people do, not necessarily here at the site, but even in the greater Buganda Kingdom, would you say some of these rituals have lost their authenticity and they are in one way or another edited? Would you use that as a phrase, or have we been able to sustain the authenticity of these practices?
We have done some, but sadly we have lost. Generally Africa, we have lost a lot of skills, traditions and norms along the way in the name of development. I think it is because of it's a problem of brain welfare, let me say that. That people tend to think that what has come today is better than what was here. Buganda as a kingdom is flexible. We can adopt new cultures because the Buganda we have today is a process. I agree. And the fact that Buganda has grown at the expense of its neighbors when it conquers the land, when it conquered the land in the past, it did not send away the people. It assimilated them, intermarried with them, and they became members of this family. So this also caused some cultural dilution. They diluted our culture. So there are some that we must strictly conserve, and there are some that are flexible, that we can revise them, because the Buganda we have is a process. But before we revise them or before we change them, we must find out what was their purpose. Why were they designed in this format? If I give you an example, if your father leaves a house and the entrance was very short, everybody will understand your father was short and it was his house. Now the fact that he has died and you have succeeded your father, you would wish to use that house, but you can't fit. You can adjust. That's understandable. But people are changing our culture for no reason. People are mixing things that have no reason. If you ask them, why are you doing this thing the way you do it today and not the way they used to do it in the past, they can't explain. I'll give an example of introduction ceremony, Okwanjura. There were rules of engagement before even the wedding, before the Okwanjura. A man sees somebody he's interested in, takes an extra step to find out which clan this person is coming from, to avoid marrying from the same clan. After that is achieved, now that's between you and the partner. Your personal intelligence begins with that. Then, after you find out that you don't come from the same clan, you take an extra step and take okukyala, the first visit. The okukyala is always private. It's got to be private. You go alone and with a few of your family relatives, at least 5. Why do you have to be few people? Because you are going in screening. It's either win or a lose. And how many people do you want to know that you lost? So today, okukyala is like introduction. They take hundreds and hundreds of people. They take lots of presents. When you take lots of presents during the okukyala, it means you are trying to bribe the family, and the family won't be taken by this bribe. Now today, if you ask these people, why are we doing things that way, they can't explain. And why were the things done the way they were done in the past? They have not taken the time to read and understand.
Now, I've been following many Christians. When you speak of ancestors, the only ancestors whom they know it is Jacob, Adam and Eve, Isaac. But when you say, how about your great-grandfather? Say, no, that is backward. That is satanic. And, and you wonder, the ancestors whom you know, Adam and Eve, Isaac, I think they are of Jesus Christ. So this has made to some traditional values to even lose meaning. So you find some people don't even want to attend like some cultural ceremonies. Like after a burial, there is that ceremony where they appoint the heir. In Luganda it's called Okwabyolumbe. Some people say that is satanic. I won't go there. They will put him in the backcloth. That is, the Bible doesn't like abide with that. That is so bad. Yeah, now the issue of modernity has destroyed a lot of things. Yeah, has destroyed a lot of things. Yeah, we have staunch believers in the African traditional religion who still respect them. I was watching news yesterday, like the tree of Nakaima. Some people are advocating for that tree to be back to like it. Remember, this tree had even killed some people. Like a dry branch came up and killed almost 5 of them. But some people say that was sacrifice. Maybe it's sacrifice for something. What? So the love which they show towards culture, yes, we still have them. And they love their culture. They really preserve it. Anything which is against it, they don't abide with it. Yeah. But with the issues of modernity, yes, some cultures have changed. Some cultures have totally changed. Even some ceremonies, we see some, yes, as we say, they're edited. Some brings what is done in the church, then it brings it in the cultural things here. I saw somebody here, I noticed that person myself was trying to speak maybe to the kings and made a cross sign. I wondered, a cross sign? Now what's the meaning? So that's how things are now mixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it is the responsibility of the current generation. I still bring it to us. As allow me to explain more a bit here. This world is being led by the dead. This world is being led by the dead. This confuses people. How? The ideas we have today, they were made by the people who died a long time ago. The watch I'm wearing, the idea of the person that this person died a long time ago. The shoes, the idea of having these shoes, the person died a long time ago. The phones we're holding, ideas of people who died a long time ago. So we are still moving in the trails of the dead. Now, as we say we are the current generation, which means that in 100 years from now, the generation that will be there will be living under our trails. The question is, what trails have we created? How are we thinking? Have we surrendered the next generation to walk through ignorance in the next century? Or we have to sacrifice ourselves and really go back to our roots? So that's why I say it's our generation. We are responsible to correct all these things and to sensitize people. Culture has never been satanic. No, it's just you need to be explained more. Culture is identity. Culture is evidence of God's power. God was not drunk to create you black, no, and create the other, no. He was normal. And your existence is evidence of his power. The other thing which we have also lost, allow me to explain it a bit more, is the naming, finding names for our children. This has been messed up in the current generation. Culturally, or in the protocol of family, when I get a child, I have no powers to give my child a name. No.
Who has those powers?
Because I am going to borrow someone's name. The name I'm going to give this child is not going to be the first person to have this name. It was the role when I have a child, the child is taken to my mother or to his grandmother. For me, it's my mother. For my child, is a grandparent, a grandmother. And then my mother did the physical DNA, because my mother knows me, she carried me, she breastfed me, she knows me. Now she's comparing this child I've brought with me. That's physical DNA. When the mother is convinced, she has checked the feet, these are our feet, the eyes are for so and so, she will hand over the child, the grandchild, to my father. And because my father, the grandfather of my child, stands in the right position, she's the only point that connects us to the past. Through the grandfather, he will stand in his house. He will remember names of his heritage. People who were so good, so wonderful, kind, generous. And he will say, there once lived our great grandparent called Mulondo. Mulondo was very kind. Mulondo was calm, generous. But these acts I'm not seeing them anymore in our family. I stand in my position as the grandfather of this child and give this child a name, Mulondo. And I call all the good deeds that were in the past great-granny to manifest in this grandchild. In Luganda, we call this child Omuzukulu. You've heard about that word. Omuzukulu means a grandchild. But it comes from the word Okuza Obukulu, the return of the authority. From the past, I return the authority to manifest in this grandchild. Omuzukulu azza obukulu mu nju y'abajjajjaabe. The grandchild returns authority of the past. Now, today, people wake up, they have children, they think of a name, they don't know what happened, what is going to accompany that name, and they give it to their child. The child tends to be stubborn, unruly.
You don't know the origin.
You don't know the origin.
Yeah.
But you've called the powers of the first owner of that name to manifest in your child. In Luganda, that one is called Okutuuma omwana erinnya, to give a child a name. But it comes from the word okutuma, to command, to send. Okutuma. Okutuma. I command the good deeds of the past owner of the name to manifest in this child. Ntuma ebirungi ebiri mu linnya li to manifest. Let me give you an example of the religions. The Christians, when they are giving a child a name, they perform a ritual. I don't know if you knew that. You take a white cloth, you take a candle, and then the child is put next to the dish, they baptize and they pour water. That's a ritual. And they give that child a Christian name, Joe. The Muslims also do it. They call it Hakika. For them, they even go an extra mile and even sacrifice an animal when they're giving a child a name. The question comes back to the viewers. What ceremony did you perform when you were giving your child a traditional name?
Now, I hope this particular segment on religion has really intrigued you as much as it has fascinated me. A lot has been said, a lot that I guess almost gives you chills, but also I guess kind of gets you into a bit of thought of what the belief structure was like back then, before the Europeans, as I've said, arrived and branded it heathen. But I also realized that the more I read, this story continues to change. Perhaps raises questions of whether there has been alterations that have happened around this story, perhaps influenced by the Europeans coming in, or whether there is stuff that is untold that we've got to, if I could say, dig a bit deeper. There's a particular article that I came across as I was just reading a bit deeper around, if I could call it, Buganda cosmology, and it happens to present Buganda's indigenous religion to be a lot more, if I could say, complex, a lot more multifaceted than just a homogeneous being, call it Katonda, being the overall. It seems to paint a picture of, if I could say, a spiritual realm that comprised so many different spirits, or I wouldn't call them objects. Let's just use spirits as the phrase, and that each and every one of them had the power to create. This particular version points to the fact that creation could have been a collaborative, if I could say, endeavor than just one being, if I could say, instructing that something happens. A bit contrary to what we know as the Genesis 1 and 2 story. Now, I'm going to leave a link down below in the episode description should you want to head out there and read it. Now let's just move on to a discussion on tourism and conservation, which I guess you and I share a bit of common interest. Yeah. I'd like to know, how does this culture site balance conservation of our practices with having to bring in so many visitors to interact with it?
Yeah, here, like, more of preserving, especially the visitors who come here, we emphasize the briefing part before the tour begins here. The briefing part is highly emphasized. Like, we have cultures to the side of, like, these whites, for them, when it's normal. The other side, like, culture of kissing in public, culture of hugging, like handling your wife, like, in a very crooked way. So, and here they couldn't apply. Yeah. Especially in this cultural site, all that is briefed, because here, for every lady who comes in, we consider her a queen, a wife to the kings. Yes.
So everyone that comes in,
yes, even if she's married, your marriage comes back after.
Interesting.
The tour here. So if a couple comes and they are married, we brief that yes, she's your wife, but here, don't do this, and don't do this. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Because apparently she's a wife to the kings. Yeah. Yeah, she'll be married to the kings for some 1 hour or 40 minutes. Then after,
when you go out, you
you take her back. So all that, we emphasize the briefing. Yeah. Okay. Because we have scenarios. They might be taking a picture and they kiss. It causes trouble. It landed on me once. Yeah, I had a couple.
Yeah.
Actually, I was not like so much focusing on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they kissed. So there is a certain lady who was somewhere. She shouted at me, "Please tell them to stop. This is not applied here.
Yeah.
He is kissing a wife of the king's in front of the king. How can he do that?"
Yeah.
So the lady was very, very furious. I came to know culture here is paramount, please. So I told the people, please, you are kissing somebody's wife. The man said, whose wife? She's the wife for the kings.
Yeah.
I said, she's the wife for the kings. Yes. She's your wife when you leave this place. Yeah. So briefing, we highly focus on it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Who oversees the preservation of Kasubi? Who is like the main?
Yeah, this place, when you go back to the roots, like to the kings of like King Mutesa I, yeah, you can ask yourself, how did this gentleman manage all the 84 wives?
Yeah.
How did he handle them when they had issues?
Yes.
When you try to read clearly, this was like a government, an independent government. Even issues at times could be solved before even reaching the king's site.
Mm.
Among these wives, we have positions, or like we have heads, like this is the head wife. If you have any issue, report to the head wife.
Yeah.
Then there is the beloved wife. Then there is a wife, and each wife had a particular role to play.
Yeah.
There is that chronological flow of power.
Yes.
From the king down to the last person who stays here. Besides that, even this place has what we call the Katikkiro. Not the Katikkiro of the kingdom,
yes.
but the Katikkiro of specifically this place.
Sorry, yeah.
He handles issues which are in here.
Okay.
Erinnya eryange nze Nkalubo David nga nze Katikkiro wa Ssekabaka Muteesa omubereberye. Mulimu guno ngwenyumirizaamu nnyo lwa nsonga mulimu gwaffe kuva ku bajjajjange nga ffe Katikkiro wa Muteesa omubereberye yamusembako yali Katikkiro Mukasansimbe, ate nga mu nnono Katikkiro asemba ku kabaka bw'akisa omukono Katikkiro amusembako yabeera Katikkiro we lubeerera. Kati kiba kifuuse kyansikirano. Katikkiro ono bw'avaawo Katikkiro yajja omulala naye ng'alina okuba nga wa kika kyekimu mu lunyiriri lwe lumu. Ennyumba ziyinza okwawukana naye kasita tuba nti olunyiriri mu luzungu kye tuyita lineage erina okuba nga y'emu. So kati guno omulimu nze ngwenyumirizaamu nnyo kuba mulimu gwaffe ng'ab'omusu, era guweesa ekika kyange ekitiibwa ng'ab'omusu mu Buganda. So ngwenyumirizaamu nnyo kuba gwa bujjajja.
Actually, this Katikkiro at times, he plays his role as a king. In case when we have visitors, long time ago, during the times of Mutesa, when visitors came and wanted to see the king, the Katikkiro at times could act as the king. In case the visitor didn't know who was the king, this was also done on Stanley. By that time, the Katikkiro of Mutesa was called Mukasa. Mukasa pretended that he was the king. Could say, I'm the king now, what do you want?
Yeah.
So he could say, I've come to do this, this and this and this. After talking everything, he could say, now I'm not the king. Let me take you to the main man. And you wonder, I thought you were the king. Now they take you to the main man. So that chronological flow of power and authority helped to manage this place, basing on the positions of the wives, the Katikkiro of the place. From the royal guards, the chief guards, if they had anything, they could go and report to the Katikkiro. Then the Katikkiro could come and meet the king if the issue was really like had something to attend to, like something which was alarming. Yeah, that's how the Katikkiro could come and inform the king. But it was more of a government. Certain issues were managed within before even reaching the king.
You don't just get to the big man.
Yeah, you don't just reach the big man and shouting with your issues. Yeah.
hope you're enjoying this conversation so far. Now, at this point, I'm going to have to bring in the acting executive director, but also the outgoing executive director. With both of them, I'll have a chat around tourism, conservation, and perhaps the future as well. I really liked the way you referred the development of this country to have, been birthed from the nucleus of the Buganda Kingdom. And I was just reading that the Chibuga, which we now call the capital, the city, as we know it today, actually came out of the Chibuga, which was the capital of ancient Buganda Kingdom. And perhaps our capital city should have Kasubi Tombs as a symbol. I don't know what you think.
That's something that we need to discuss with the policymakers.
When you go to France, you have the Eiffel Tower. When you go to England, you have Big Ben. What else would represent our city?
Most definitely. 2-3 things, as I mentioned earlier. Number one, depends on what we appreciate as our own. For this is Kasubi Tombs. It's your own. It's ours. It's Ugandan. So we can sell it. We can appreciate it and probably sell it as an icon for Uganda. I see Buganda as a gateway to the rest of Uganda. But also there's something I need to bring forth here in this particular discussion. This is a fusion of different ideas. Jonathan Benaya, you may not be from Buganda, but there is something that links you or encodes you to Buganda. We're not Buganda 800 years back. I want to stretch back a little. This was the Lacustrine region, the Great Lakes region, the big Beetle dynasty. It disintegrates. It creates the Bunyoro-Kitara kingdom. Bunyoro-Kitara disintegrates. It gives us Karagwe down south, Rwanda, Burundi. It gives us the Nyamwezi Empire down in Tanzania. Up here we had Bunyoro kingdom, and then we had Buganda that came forth. So you see that these are disintegrations that bring forth different people, different languages, different idioms, different things all together. Ebintu ebyenjawulo, and bringing together abantu abenjawulo, the Bantu. And we cannot become monopoly of these things. So we give it to you to own it up to as individuals. We don't know what may come 800 years in future. So can we take on Kasubi Tombs as an icon for the bigger Buganda? Yes, it's possible. Not that because it's for the Buganda. If we look back, by the way, look at it this way. In Buganda, the king takes on the mother's totem. What does that imply? That the king is he doesn't talk on the paternal side. The king has to integrate the different totems, the different clans, and the different people. Of course, I'm not a Muganda, but my mother actually happens to be a Muganda, and she reigns from the clan, the Nyonyinyange clan. Wow. That's the Igret, I think. Yeah, I'm interested in knowing, aside from marketing this tourism product to the visitor, how is Buganda Heritage Tourism Board trying to break down some of these practices for the actual Buganda? Of course, you've mentioned you're documenting some of these stories. How are you, as the kingdom, trying to interest the Muganda, especially the young one, in things of the kingdom? What have we done? We do school outreaches. Personally, I'm more interested in children, communities. The other aspect is in animals, but I'll save that for another day. And conservation. So I'll take them as the 3 C's: the children, the community, and conservation. So we do school. Most of the works that I do, I reach out to the children. Why? The children appreciate more and they tell our story. So whichever opportunity we can get for somebody to tell our story, we grab it with both hands. We embrace it. In terms of documentation, even the literal writing, the manuscripts, we have appreciated. As you've mentioned, the Gen Zs, we've encouraged them to use their phones. So as a visitor here at Kasubi Royal Tombs, you come in with your phone, we give the opportunity to use it the best way possible. And you'd see these beautiful girls and boys. They take very big, beautiful pictures. And this mausoleum is right behind them. And they appreciate. You know, I love the shade of the brown amasengere, those rocks. But I'll tell you something about the amasengere. It was something to make people cry. But today, it's something that we share and laugh about. That is the masengere. So you see the shade of brown, you see the tint of the chocolate brown from the grass thatch, and then you see the blue skies, and the green that canopies this particular building. So it's a very good picture when taken, and we encourage very many people to take as many pictures as they want so that they send it out to the world there.
Abantu bangi bawandiise ebitabo. Nkubiriza emiti emito gino gisome ebitabo ebyo bayige ennono yaabwe ate bajje e Kasubi nga ffe tukyaliyo tubayigirize ennono eno n'engeri ki eyo gikuumamu. Kuba kino ekibuga kirimu ennono yaffe nnyingi ate ennene ate engazi gye tukyasobodde okukuumira wakati ate mu kibuga. Wakati mu kibuga oli omuntu asobola olaba ettaka lino n'agamba Buganda eyonoona. Awo nsobola oteekawo akeedi 10 ne zituula, oli n'agamba ekikomera kino singa twazimba ky'amaduuka ne tukye olubiri lusigala lubiri. Amasiro gasigala masiro. So tulina okusomesa abaana, era osanzeewo abaana b'amasomero. Kiba kirungi abaana abo ne bwajja wano n'amanya ennono ye bwetambula, kuba eddiini ebuzizza nnyo ennono. Omwana n'alaba olubugo n'alaba sitaani, naye ng'ate olubugo olugoye Omuganda lwe yasooka okwambala. Teruliimu sitaani yenna, kuba olwo lususu lwa muti omutuba. Kati omutuba gwa sitaani. Naye nga buno buwangwa bwaffe, ennono yaffe ng'Abaganda. Era okusobola okunyweza Namulondo, tulina okusomesa abavubuka bano. Abavubuka balina okumanya mitendera ki gye tuyitamu okunyweza Namulondo. Era okutuuka ku ntikko tuyitawa. Omuti gusooka mirandira ne gunywera ne gulyoka guleeta ebikoola waggulu. Kati tugenda kuleeta bikoola waggulu ng'eno omuti guyuuga. Tusooke tunyweze emirandira, tuve ku mirandira wansi nga twambuka tusobole okutuuka ku ntikko gye tulaga.
Let me fuse in something here. Look at our music. You could mention the best English songs that you can mention, but within the local market, you can never do it if you do it in a different language. So there's something good you can appreciate from your language. From the folk songs, so somebody also brings in the amagunju. These can be, if they don't have copyrights, they can come back to the people and we sing them. We sing to them. We sing to the children and they appreciate them. If somebody like you comes in, brings in the instrumentalization, you make a better piece of art in form of music. And this is okay.
When I spoke to Mr. Jonathan Nsoboga, who I understand was the chief architect and the project lead for the restoration, I think that was in the second episode of this series. I actually put it to him quite a challenging question. I wanted to understand, in light of a continent like Africa that has quite a number of really iconic historical and cultural sites, like the pyramids in Egypt, like Lalibela in Ethiopia, like the churches in Tigray up in the mountains in Ethiopia, Great Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe. I wanted to know where would you rank a site like Kasubi, and his ranking was quite high. I think he said it was in the top 3. In your own perspective, do you feel like as a country or even as a kingdom we appreciate the magnitude or the weight of Kasubi? Does it get, if I could call it, the value and respect that it deserves locally and internationally?
Well, first of all,
I will first agree with Jonathan. I think that he's right. Kasubi is a heritage game that we have. It is a living heritage. I have gotten a chance to visit some of these sites, but for Kasubi, it is different. It is a culture. It is a way of life. If you take away all the people from Kasubi, I think it will cease to be the site that it is. But you find that people are doing what they do naturally.
Which has been the case for so many years.
So many years.
Yeah.
Even when the site was burnt down, these people never left the site. I think that makes the site very unique. Although personally, I feel like there is a gap. Maybe it is an information gap, or it is an education gap, or it is a cultural gap. It could be either of them, that people may not really appreciate this site as much as it should be appreciated. When you look at the promotion of Uganda as a country, you find that cultural treasures like Kasubi have not been really put at the front. Could it be that they are not a priority? Could it be that they are not the best that the country has to offer? I don't know. But what I know is that Kasubi is the only cultural UNESCO World Heritage Site that we have. So it takes me back to your question. Maybe we have not appreciated this site as much as it should be appreciated. In spite of the routine, the schools frequenting the site, we are learning about the site, but it is not practical. Our appreciation for the site is not yet practical. I think that is where we are missing out on a lot. That is why you see someone might be surprised when Jonathan says that Kasubi is among the top three.
The top three, yeah.
Because we don't see it. But for someone who comes from out there, reads or hears the story of Kasubi, they come with so much respect, so much adornment for this site. So I think we might have a missing piece there. If we could give more appreciation to our cultural contribution as a country. We have so many Kasubis all over the country. We have important cultural sites in Bunyoro. We have important cultural sites in Lango. But I think it's because we have neglected, we have focused on wildlife.
On the nature-based side of the product.
On the nature-based kind of, because Uganda is actually identified as a nature-based destination, and that leaves us a bit behind. But yet the culture is so unique. So I think there is a gap there that we need to address. But I would concur with Jonathan that Kasubi is a class apart.
A class apart.
Yes.
Yeah, very well said. I think, well, just listening to you, I get the feeling that as a country we suffer from a disease called abundance.
Yes.
we have a lot, and we almost fail to identify and develop, if I could call it, prioritize things that
we are missing out on the real deal.
Yeah. I'm a bushman at heart. I like the bush. I like the nature side of it. But I concur with you. And the beauty with the Ugandan product, the nature-based product, is that you have people living around all these natural destinations. My travels really reveal and open me up to so many unique cultural experiences. And I think, as just to concur with you, that's indeed a product that we are yet to tap into. It's a gold mine.
If we sell Uganda as a cultural destination, we shall have even distribution of visitors all over the country. Because I'll just assume, when you get in your car and you drive towards the north, every 100 kilometers, every 200 kilometers from Uganda, is a different tribe,
different ethnic group,
yes. Food, dance, everything. And that is what people are doing. They are taking a safari car from here to Karamoja, but you're missing out on all that. So if you want to have an even distribution of visitors, and you don't say that, oh, most of the visitors have gone to Windy. Yeah. Now this national park is not getting enough visitors. If you want to eliminate that, you brand Uganda as a cultural destination. you will see an even flow of visitors all over the country.
Yeah, and by branding, it's not just promoting it, it's also making sure that the products around the cultural element are also developed and up to standard, yeah. Because you want the visitor to stay here longer, spend more. Yeah, fantastic. Now, of course, you said it's taken about over 15 years. The anniversary of that was just a few weeks ago. What is your assessment of the work that has been done? How happy are you, if I could say, satisfied with not just if I could call it the aesthetic, the outlook of the site, but also from the side of the culture and the rituals and the spiritual energy that needs to return to this place? How satisfied are you with the process?
Well, I think you've heard this a lot. Kasubi is unique, and all that kind of stuff. Restoring Kasubi, for someone who goes today to the site, they may never have a single hint of the magnitude of doing a restoration of such a site. It is delicate, extremely time-consuming, tedious. I mean, we are not using machines. You do something and Jonathan says, no, this is not, you have to use your hands again to put it back. I think that the job that the team has done, starting with the committee, which I've been part of, the restoration committee, to see that the site is restored. It contains an element of conservation, preservation. I think that they have done an excellent job. Some of this work is hereditary, like people from a certain clan have to do it. You're dealing with people from the informal sector. It's not like when you have a contract for your job, you have to come at a certain time and report to work. No, these are people who are informal sector. When they're not feeling fine today, they may not do the work. You're not going to force them. Maybe when they don't feel appreciated, sometimes they will not come to work. They will say, no, you know. So you have to deal with a lot that is happening. I think the team that has done this work, led by Jonathan, has done a good job bringing together the right people. There's also a risk of bringing people who are not rightful to do that work. So the process of recruiting the right people to do the work, making sure that they do it the right way, the process of bringing the teams together is more hectic than actually doing the work. And then the research that is involved, I think that when I look at Kasubi and the process that we have gone through, I am satisfied. I think this is a product that will not disappoint the visitors. The visitors who have seen Kasubi in pictures, maybe those who visited it before. There's a group that I met that visited Kasubi before it was destroyed, and they are happy. The team has tried to restore the site without any big changes. I think it is a good job that has been done, and I commend them for the good work. I'm sure that the visitors will appreciate the site, although there's still more work to be done.
Okay. Fantastic. And I know I posed this question to one of the interviewees that I talked to, and I wanted to put myself in, not really put myself in the shoes, but I wanted to like go back to 1882 when Ssekibuule Mutesa was setting up this site. I wanted to know if he walked into Kasubi today, would he, if I could say, recognize it? If he just walked in,
Absolutely.
Would he be happy with the work that has been done?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely you would recognize it, because I know Jonathan told you that they used the initial design, leave alone the modified design that got burnt, but
Of
they restored
1938,
it
yeah.
to the original size. So
Yeah.
definitely recognize it. And then all his wives are still there in the site. The community has been involved. The site has been owned and appreciated by the community. If that site was not to the standard that it is supposed to be up to, the community wouldn't allow it to reach there. Because they are always watching. It's not like they were taken out for the site to be restored. They have been watching every step. They have been contributing. I know that there is a head architect who is a technical person, but he relies a lot on the guidance that he's getting from these people who have been there. So I think definitely he would appreciate and identify his house and say, this is the house that I built.
Fantastic. Well, finally, we actually are at the Katikkiro, which I understand was or is the official house of the Prime Minister.
Katikkiro.
The Katikkiro of Buganda. But I also understand this is also where you have the offices of the Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board. I'm interested in knowing what projects do you have going on? What does the future look like for Kasubi, but also for the whole kingdom in light of tourism? I know we're doing the interview at the Buganda Bumu Art Gallery, which is stunning. Very beautiful art pieces here. And I guess for anyone watching and listening, this is a place to come and visit. But please tell us, what other projects do you have going on?
Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board is a platform for your tourism products in Buganda. Buganda is the gateway for the tourism in Uganda. Actually, you could say it's the gateway to the Pearl of Africa. So, if it's the gateway, we've packaged different things to appreciate for you as a visitor, for you as a student, for you as a member of the community. And we're trying out, or we're actually doing our best to see that this becomes part of your menu in terms of service, in terms of the tourism products and the others. Katikkiro is the place where we are. It was given to us under the auspice of the Katikkiro because the real estate here was of not so much productive use, and therefore we took it on to serve the different needs of the Buganda tourism and heritage. Thank you very much. You've mentioned it. This is the Bumu Gallery, Buganda Bumu Art Gallery, and we do exhibit visual arts, different pieces, different artists have exhibited here in the past. It's new, but actually the packaging is high-end. The likes of Noah Mara Nyanzi have done some good work.
Okay, nice.
We have very good curators, we have very good promoters. At this moment, allow me to appreciate the Nalinya for the good work she's done in terms of creating this space and curating the different art pieces. We cannot do this without educating the masses. We have a resource center and a library here in this particular space. So the library, we're trying mostly to have the literature that comes from Buganda area and Uganda at large. Within Buganda, it's absolutely free, and we invite members of the public of those facilities, the schools, to come and use this facility. In future, we could have other programs. Besides the heritage work and the administrative work to keep the Katikkiro clean and user-friendly to the visitors, we stretch across the road where we find the Rubiri. Before getting into the Rubiri, there's what they call the Wankachi. Wankachi is the gate, actually. And the green space here is reserved or conserved for you and me. You can come, have your picnic there. You can come, sit. You can come and take a picture. It's been a place that Ssaabasajja appreciated. Kabaka yasiima abantu bajje to come and sit and take in. That is the place for you, the Wankachi Gardens. We're making them better for the use of the tourists and the visitors. We need to get some Wi-Fi there, more beautification in terms of flowers, and more green to keep it, to have some green space in the city. So the Kabaka loves green, and that's what we've conserved. I talked about the 64 acres at Kasubi, but also this is a green space around town. So if you draw your drone a little bit up, you will see that it's another green patch of land that is that we have here. So Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board has seen to the beautification of the Wankachi Gardens, and then some extra work within the Lubiri, touristic work. People come and ask about the Lubiri. Remember, in the 1970s, Idi Amin was the president of Uganda, and a few of the spaces he had used as his armory and his barracks. So a few people were being kept there as prisoners. They talk about incarceration. This is a detail. For now, we sell that story. We sell that as a package for visitors, for tourists, and people who had fond memories of this place. Even if they're not fond, if your beloved one was once there and probably died there, you need to get the story. You need to follow up. Some people follow up these trails. So we have a package for visitors and tourists in the Lubiri, but also in the Amini Torture Chambers, which is also a part of the Amare. As you get out of the Lubiri, we move and cross the road. If you look properly on the sights and sounds of Uganda, you see that it's a straight line that gets us from the main palace to the Parliament building or Ruchiko area, Bulange Mengo. Previously, it was called Republic House in the 1980s, 1970s, because government had taken, the serving government of the time had taken it over. So it was returned back to Buganda, and it serves as offices for the different institutions in different tiers, and it's there. That's where now even the Katikkiro and other ministers sit. As you move further astride this particular road, as you move towards St. Lawrence University, there is a landmark, which is the Kabaka's Lake, the one man-made lake within the city center. And this has its own stories. There are many others, areas that are under our mandate. The Nagalabi coronation grounds, the different tombs where the other Kabakas are resting, and all the others around Buganda, Ssekibuule area and all the others. These are all under our mandate. We are starting to consolidate them to become the bigger package of Buganda and Uganda at large.
Coming up in our 7-part series on the history of the Great Kingdom of Buganda.
Era omukyalo oyo Kasubi yakola obuvumu ku baffe Mwanga ng'akomezebwawo e Buganda. Bwe yazaamirayo eri kabaka waffe yalamba akalame abantu ke batamanya abeeri mu Shesherizi n'ateekako akalame n'abagamba abataka be yategeeze Mmengo abaliwo mu kiseera ekyo ti bwe mubikulanga enjole ya kabaka mu kifo bwe muti bwe baziika ne mujjayo enjole eyo ne mulaba akalambe mu kifo bwe wati mumanyanga ye kabaka waffe.
Ennyumba ino okujja neggwaawo. Baanoonya omuntu alina okukulembera okuleeta empagi gye bayita Sserugattika.
Obulamu embeera y'omukyala w'embuga ebeera ya njawulo, obeera wa kitiibwa kubanga wajjanga ne musebeyiwo nga yakola emirimu gwobeera ku kitiibwa kyo ng'omukyala muka kabaka.
Era n'atuwa empagi bulungi n'enkulembera olutabaalo n'agamba mugende ennyumba eyo ejja kuggwa era ssebe ewedde.